Hey, everybody. Welcome to Jen Lowry Writes. Today, I am so honored to be sitting here with Gregory Maguire. He is the author of the incredible popular books of the Wicked Years series. I'm sure you guys know all about Wicked, the life and times of the Wicked Witch of the West, which inspired the musical. But he's also the author of several children's books, including What the Dickens, a New York Times bestseller, and Egg and Spoon, a New York Times Book Review Notable Children's Book of the Year. Gregory Maguire lives outside of Boston, and I am hugging your latest. Everyone, we are going to be talking about Cress Watercress today. Gregory, how many times have I just stopped to hug your book, but then while I'm reading, your book hugs me back?
Oh, well, I'm so glad of that. And first I'll say good morning,
Good
Jen.
morning.
And good morning to all your listeners, and good morning, Cress. I'm glad you found your way into
Yes.
Jen's studio. It is a book that I hoped would do exactly that. I wanted it to be a really welcoming book, and I wanted it also to be devoid of some of the literary effects for which I'm sometimes known, like being turgid, being long, being complicated, being a little sour, being not entirely clear about what I mean in my subtle prose. All of those things are values that I aspire to in most books. But for this book, I said, I want to go for something cleaner, clearer, and more direct, so that I don't leave anybody out. I want everybody who opens the front door of the front cover of that book to find himself or herself at home in its pages.
And you so met that goal with 100% accuracy. You have an A+ on your test.
Good.
Because I will say to you that this book is a hard book, but life is hard. This book has so many pieces of a puzzle of a life story that is grief, that is starting over, that is, so much is there. It is layered, but it is clear. It is profound and deep, but it is direct. And so with finding that balance, how did you accomplish such a difficult task? Because when I say you go very profound and deep, but you're also direct, how did you manage that? What was that process for writing for you?
That's a hard process for me because I've heard it explained to me, and I think it's true, that there are several ways to construct a story or novel, let me say, which is a different thing than a story. And one can analogize with the notion of sculpture, I was told. This was about 40 years ago. There are sculptures that are built up by what might be called the daub method, where you take clay and you keep adding clay and molding it and adding until you have the form that you want. And there are other sculptures that begin with a block of marble from which, with your adze and your chisel and your hammers, you cut away until the perfect form that is living already in that block of marble can be revealed. Normally, I think my method of constructing a story is the clay method. It's the pottery method. It's the kids with Play-Doh method, you know? Oh, I found this old tub of yellow. It rolled under the sofa. It's been there since last Easter. I think if we just, heat it up in the microwave for 10 seconds, we can restore its plasticity and we can use it again. I like to use parts. I like to add things in. I like, for the worlds of my adult novels particularly, but also some of my children's novels, to be dense and complex and infinitely changing. But Cress Watercress came to me as a single idea, and I put the single idea in the middle of my writing mind, as it were. And then I set to work with my chisels to take away everything that wasn't going to be in support of the main idea. And I'll tell you what the main idea is. And I don't think it'll give away anything. But Jen, if I may, before I do that, so that I'm not talking too obscurely to your audience, I might say, let me give you a 2-sentence précis of the novel so people know what I'm talking about. Cress Watercress is the name of a rabbit. She lives in the first chapter of the book with her mother and her baby brother Kip in a warren, like most rabbits, and they have to leave the warren because the fourth member of the family, Papa Rabbit, went out to forage a few nights ago and never returned. The mama rabbit cannot take care of her children and also take care of the family food needs living alone. And so they have to give up their private warren, which has 3 bedrooms and a private back door and a private carrot patch, a very, very soigné. And they have to move into a somewhat down market apartment tree. And it's a dead tree, and it's kind of rotting, and they move into a 1-room basement flat, as it were, windowless even, where their station is very much depleted from what they'd known so far, or what Cress had known so far. She's a very young rabbit. The book is about the family's efforts to integrate in a new society that is not the rabbit population they're used to, but is all kinds of other animal creatures, which present other challenges and other opportunities. So the novel is about endurance and about change. But it does start with a moment of, I would say, fear, because when you're little and you move from your home, you don't know what the world looks like beyond the backyard fence. And it's scary to be out there, and it's scary for Cress. So that's what the story is about. That's what the plot is about. But when I talk about having a marble in the middle of my writing mind or in the middle of my desk and saying, I need to carve a way to reveal the main concept that suggested to me the story is carrying the concept, not the other way around. The concept isn't carrying the story carries the concept. And here's the concept. I was driving home from a conference in Vermont one year, about 4 years ago, I think, back when we had conferences. Remember those days?
Yes.
And I had been talking with a new friend who liked to draw animals in clothes. And I said, your work is great. I wish I wrote stories like that, but I don't. On the way home, I thought, if I did, what would I do? Now, as it turns out, the person to whom I was speaking did not end up being the illustrator of this book. He's a wonderful illustrator, and so is the illustrator who was chosen.
Love David. Yes, love.
Absolutely wonderful. They have different strengths, different skills, and David has done a wonderful job. But so would this other guy have done if he had been the one to come on board. But as I was driving, several things were going on in my head, and I'll try to make this shorter than one of my adult novels.
Go ahead. I love the origin story.
Well, I know a lot of young people, as you do, Jen. You have young people in the house, or you've had them in the house until recently. And anybody who has spent a life living in and near and around young people and remembers being young himself or herself knows that there are moments of crisis that come up in childhood from which, when one is in them, the way out is invisible. The way out is impossible to imagine and impossible, therefore, to head toward. When we first come upon a sense of great loss or grief when we're young, and it hits us on the forehead, on the shoulders, in our dreams, in our back, in our spirits, we don't know we're ever going to survive. We think this might be our own death because it is so heavy. We can't get there. But with luck, and unless we're extremely unfortunate and don't have the goods to survive, we do survive. People help us, we grow, our inner systems help us, uh, grace and art all help us, and we survive. Uh, what I was thinking in the car as I was driving down is that one young person I knew was going through a hard time, but was too old for the application of a story to help. And I thought, I can't go to the library, I can't go to the teen room and take a book out that will say, someday this will all be better, because this particular child wasn't a reader. And what do I know but books? I'm a book person. And I began to think, I wish there had been something that had been given this child 10 years ago that might have said what I would like to say now. And then I thought some more, and I thought, wow, there's a stream of traditions and cultural moments in book writing. And for a while in the late 70s and 80s, particularly, there was this concept of bibliotherapy. If you have a problem, or if you're teen or your middle school kid or your grade school kid has a problem, even your kindergarten kid, will I be lonely at kindergarten? Well, here's a book called Will I Find a Friend? You know, you apply the nearest book like a mustard plaster to the wound, or like a Band-Aid, with dinosaurs on it. And you say, yes, it will all be all right. And the book can be consoling. It very often is, but it doesn't solve the problem. It just means you're not alone. And the problem I had was that one thing few of those books, or none of them, ever say is, yes, you will survive this problem, but it will come back. Having experienced grief once does not mean you will never experience it again.
And the wave of grief, you use that as a wave.
Yes, as a wave of grief. And the same thing with loss and with loneliness. You may find your best friend in fourth grade. That doesn't mean you're never going to be lonely again in your life. What you need to do is eventually to realize, I can survive loneliness. And I know that feelings that I have come in waves.
So I'm hugging again, because you do that not only with the waves, but with the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And you give it a tangible, a reachable thing, an understanding for a child, but you also do it with hide and seek. So that's what I say, when you layer deep, but direct.
Yes. Well, anybody listening for the first 15 minutes of this would say, boy, that sounds like a heavy lift. I'm going to stay away from that.
No, that sounds like a book we all need on our shelves. And we all need to read aloud with families, with classrooms. This is a classroom read.
Yeah.
This is a district-wide read. This is something that a child does need 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And let's face it, we have been stuck for 2 years in grief and loss, in separation, and the young people don't know that they're going to come out of it. But the thing is, in my skill set as a writer, I also can be swift and funny. And so in the interest of passing along what I think of as a message I really think is important, I do it with a set of comical characters and droll situations and wordplay that moves, I hope, very fast. So you don't know you're getting the message. You know you're getting an animal adventure story. And the message will seep up from below, ground, and it will float you without you even needing to name it.
And then you're going to want to read it again. And then you're going to go back and you're going to want to read it again. Yeah. Just like when you've read Stuart Little or The Wind in the Willows, you're going to go back and you're going to read that one again to your child when the time is right. You can read that one again to your child. And this is the type of book that hits you, even as an adult. So all of the adults out there who love children's books as much as I do, like I love children's books. And when there was a line, my favorite line, then when Cress was asked, her family was asked, "Where are you from?"
Oh, yeah.
"I am from yesterday. I'm
Uh,
from yesterday."
uh.
That is going to stay with me forever.
Oh my gosh,
Like,
I didn't even remember that line.
ah,
I was trying to guess 3 or 4 things I thought you might say. I didn't guess that one. Oh, I'm so glad.
and
I'm
that's
so
the thing about the beauty of how books that are crafted in this way, where you have to stop and read them out loud to your husband because they're funny.
Yeah.
And you have to say, okay, Manny just finished playing poker with his wife. I got to read this part out loud. And so then I'm telling my 20-year-old son next time he comes through the room, because he's home for the weekend from the dorm, and I'm reading this part to him and he's laughing. And then I reach a page and I say, look at the picture. Look at the illustrations. Just the safety of animal speech. All of it is such a safe place to explore the thoughts of what is next. Today might not have been a good day, but tomorrow could be good enough.
Yeah.
Wow, just Gregory, the
Uh,
word choice. When we talk, you talked about it at the beginning. One of your goals of this book was, the directness, to be clear, to
right.
make sure that it's there, that it's not something hidden. A family reading this, a child, a teacher reading this, when they get to the point where, well, this isn't fair.
Yeah.
You don't beat around the bush with that. You just
Yeah.
say, it's just not. It is not fair.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and name this what it is.
Right. Right.
But then, does that mean we stop, or does that mean we survive? Does that mean we stop, or does that
Right.
mean we find ways to
Right.
create our
Right.
new way? Because this is a new way. We got to deal with this. And then how is that going to be? And then you get pushback again, emotional pushback, right? And it's like you're authentically telling emotions of Cress in all of these different moments, but you tie her in together. She's not a bunny anymore.
Yeah.
She's a child. She's a child. Like, what was it like when you started thinking of all? So you were giving your idea, your slab of marble, to think about Al and Manny and Nasty, and the squirrel family, like the whole community. How did all of that come to you? Did it come to you in waves, or did you just see them there?
It mostly came to me in waves, but there are a few like asterisk or sorry, Tunk the honey bear
Oh,
comes from, I have 3 children. They're all adopted. They're all pretty much grown up now. They're about the age of yours, your oldest, or your college kid, I mean. And one of my kids, when he was about 2, he was playing with a stuffed animal and he said the word tunk. And I loved that word. And I started using it all the time. And sometimes I even called it to him, "Hey there, tunk." And he would never respond and he never used it again. But that word like went in my pocket. I just loved the sound of it. Tunk, tunk. It's like a pebble going in the stream. Tunk. So that's where
and
that came from.
and Tunk found his way in a delightful way, but also an important part of the story. And that is a theme that you have truly planted the seed early on and just really carried through so consistently in this book. And it is very obvious to me, reading through, is that we are all a part of the story.
Yeah.
And you say it near the end, right? You get there and you're very direct with the thing. You're very
Right.
direct because you don't want to leave anything out, and you
Right.
want to make sure your reader has caught that. And then when they may go back again, they say, oh, even though Tunk is here, Tunk is really here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tunk is here. He's from
Yeah.
here to here.
Yeah.
He's not just a moment.
Right.
Even Tunk is a part of a story. Man, and you do that so brilliantly, like with all of the characters, even Lady Cabbage. Like, oh my gosh, just to know her personality, there's that fun little side of evil there. There's
Yeah.
that little
She,
fun.
I mean, there are a number of dangers in the world of
Oh,
Cress, as there are in Ola. You know, we get in the car and we go to buy bread, and you know, cars are dangerous. We could get run over at the intersection, or we could get hit at the intersection. So in Cress's new world, even though there are animal support systems, as it were, in the apartment tree, there are others in the neighborhood. There are bears, there are foxes, there are snakes, uh, there are human hunters and human picnickers. And there is Lady Agatha Cabbage. Lady Agatha Cabbage is skunk, and she puts on airs. I mean, skunks have airs, but she puts on airs in addition to that. And she was so much fun to write.
I knew she would be for you. I
Yeah,
knew.
yeah. There's a little Lady Agatha Cabbage in me, I think. But I try to suppress her. I'm in therapy.
But you can get that through that character clearly, that she's a dualistic character. She's a complex character indeed.
Character. She's lonely.
Yes.
And she pretends to be better than everybody else, and she really can't manage for herself.
And her poor chinchilla.
And her poor.
Oh my gosh, that whole thing.
You talk about how a book gets written, and you asked me that question. And if one is confident in one's skills, as after 44 years of being in print, I have become, at least partly, one knows to just follow where one's writing takes one. And so when on that page that's like about page 5 or page 6, and Lady Agatha Cabbage, having met the Watercress family as they're going through the woods, wants to impress them. And she says, notice my pearls, notice my lorgnette, notice my chinchilla. I wrote that line, and then I saw my handwriting. The chinchilla raised his hand and said, hi there. And I didn't know the chinchilla was going to be alive until it spoke. And this is how I write now. I let one of my dear friends and mentors, in a way, was the artist Maurice Sendak. I knew him for 35 years, you know, Where the Wild Things Are and all wonderful books. And I heard him speak in public several times, and we talked on the phone often, and I visited him. And he used to talk often about the value of accessing his subconscious when he was in the art of writing a book. And I think I believed that when I was younger, but I think I'm better at it now. I think I'm better at like launching the sail and then really letting the winds take the prose where they want to go. And I don't try to govern it too much. I govern it later when I go back and edit. But I didn't start out saying, wouldn't it be funny if a skunk had a talking chinchilla for fur? It just started talking. So I said, oh, okay, well, let's see where this goes.
But you know, that's the difference to me, where a book has the mind, the book has the heart, but then the book has the spirit. And to me, Cress Watercress has all three.
Wow.
It has all three. And there are books that are going to, you know, be the ones that we talk about, sure, forever. We're going to talk about them with our kids and our grandkids. And when we meet at a dinner, and we'll say, oh, have you read this book? Mm-hmm. And then there are others that we've read and we appreciate, and they're on our shelves, but they often don't come to mind.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to tell you, that Cress is one that will come to mind. This is one that will stay as an ever-present top 10.
Oh, wow. Aren't you nice?
It's true. It is so, I am not like, trust me, I'm not fluffing you up at all, because you don't need that. It's after your 44 years. You need honesty, as we all do need honesty. And I will tell you, what you've done here is simple yet beautiful. It is truly a book that matters. It really is. And I just feel like I'm a part of this story from here to here because I read it from beginning to end. Because now I feel like I'm a part of this story.
Oh, good, good. Well, you
So
belong there. It's,
yes,
the last chapter is called Hereabouts,
yes.
and you are in Hereabouts. When you
Which
get to
could
the last
be, yes.
chapter, that's where you are. You're in
And you
here.
could, and hereabouts is anywhere
Yeah.
and everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. It's where you are.
It's where you
And
are.
it's where you are, and it's where the people are around you because they are. We are hereabouts. That's where we are. Madeleine Albright died recently, as you know, and I read a wonderful uh, bit of writing about her. I saw her once in Penn Station. I smiled at her. She smiled at me. We didn't. But she was quoted in a newspaper article that was memorializing her, and she talked about the importance of fighting the good fight in order to keep, what was the word? To keep faith with life. And keeping faith with life is, I think, well, let me put that down on my list of things I want to do this week. I want to keep faith with life. And when I decide that I'm going to write a story, I want to keep faith with life in it. I want it not to separate from life, but to join to life. So.
And I'm tapping a masterpiece that does that very well for children's literature. And then at the end, what do I write? You write life as a blunder. You just write life. There's just so much here to explore. And I hope that you feel like we did not do spoiler alerts today. But I feel like all of it together just encompasses just a life lived, a living moment for this rabbit family, but this child's life. And how also you've listed in here about the gifting, like the mother with the warp. And my father worked in a textile mill when he was a teenager before he went off to military. So when I saw the warp, I said, oh, there's the warper. My dad was in a big industrial warper. All of the things of this book brought back yesterday so much for me.
Oh, wow. Where are you from?
I'm from yesterday. I mean, really, truly just an amazing book. But when you look at coping mechanisms too, and all of the things that you gave to children, this is words of wisdom, words of clarity, but words that are like this powerful instrument that will continue to build these song notes in children. So then when they're crafting their song, they have something that maybe can help them make sense of that. And that's sometimes where you get the books where they give you the song notes. You give them the song notes and how to make sense of the song notes. And that's what we need. That's what we need more of. And so just knowing that this started with a conversation that you had with self in a car to get to this moment, how does it just feel knowing that it's about to come out next week and everybody's going to get a chance to have this on their shelf?
Oh, well, I have to say, this is, I think, my 40th publication in 44 years. And, I've done about 20 children's books, about 12 or 14 adult novels, and a bunch of picture books and criticism and things like that. But this is definitely one that I think came the closest to the final statue out of the marble, is the closest to how I envisioned it in the car. Usually you get something that doesn't look anything like it. You think, oh, well, I did my best, But this hit as more of the notes that I hoped to hit than I'm usually accustomed to hitting. And for that, I'm just proud. And so I want everybody to meet Cress and to make her their friend, because I love her myself.
Yes, and I love Cress too. And I truly When I wrote that, when I sat down, when I finished the book and I sat down to write the review for the book, and I had my moment with a blank page, and I said, how do you say all of the beauty that can come from reading a book, other than this book truly matters? This book is profound. It is just beautiful. And I was like, well, people will read that. They'll say that's the cheesiest thing ever. But then I'm like, no, that's the truth.
Yeah.
So let me just say truth about Cress. And Cress is needed today. Cress is needed 10 years ago. Cress is needed tomorrow.
Yeah.
And this
Cress,
is the book. This is the type of book, like I say, is
yeah.
needed forever. You do mention The Wind in the Willows near the end, and you talk about the badger washerwoman. I was
That's
rolling.
right. That's right. That's right. I forgot because one review mentioned a dim association with Wind in the Willows, and I thought, where are they getting that? But now you've just told me. I had forgotten. But yes, that is a little tip of the hat to
Yes.
Wind in the Willows. I completely forgot
Oh,
about that.
Graham. And you know, those are the books, The Wind in the Willows. I look at, and I'm sorry to say that I have not read your other children's books, but guess what that means?
Well,
That means you're on my list to read every
good.
single children's book that is
Oh,
in that
good.
list of 44 years.
Oh, well, start with Egg and Spoon and What the Dickens, because I think those are, I mean, there's some other ones that I'm very proud of too, but those are more recent. And so I think they're possibly more accomplished than some of my earlier ones.
I love to see it all. I'm going to see them all. I will have the Gregory Maguire collection, trust me, that will then be able to be passed to my grandchildren, because isn't that what it's all about?
Yes.
How a book impacts you and how the book carries on. And this is a carry on. So any famous last words for our audience? I know I kept you longer than I should have, and I apologize for that longer time up there, but I have just been lost in the moment. I have been lost in this opportunity to talk about the power of Cress and how it needs to be there in someone else's hands this week.
This week, yes, this week. I think you quoted from it, but I'm going to say it again. We listened to the news this morning. We hear more about Ukraine. We hear about COVID. We hear about political and social justice struggles and struggles for food security and struggles for personal liberty at home and abroad. We hear about all of it. And we think, how can I keep faith with life? How can I keep faith with life? And one answer is to realize today might not be a good day, but it's good enough to keep on. And so that's where I leave you, to say, keep on keeping faith with life. And if Cress can help console you or teach you or make you laugh, then go ahead.
Yes, because you will have all the emotions when you're reading Cress. And I just want to thank you so much for just your contributions to the literary world and all that you've done to just share passion and art and entertainment and the love of words to all of us. So I'm just truly honored to be sitting here talking with you this morning. And
well, thank you so much, Jen, and thank you for the good work that you do. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. And don't forget, I know you won't. Don't forget to keep faith with life today.
Amen. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Jen Lowry Writes. As you know, this is going to be my top 10. It's on my top 10 list for life. Cress Watercress by Gregory. Please get Gregory Maguire's newest book. It is coming out this week. So you do need to grab it, hold tight to it, get ready for living the story and becoming a part of the story. So thanks, everybody. I'll see you guys later.